Oh, here it goes again. So, January 29th, 2023 will be 2 years since I released this news video talking about the drama between We the People and Fingers Crossed BMX. And basically, what that drama was, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, is that the dealer catalogs were going around for We the People, and there was a bike on there that was a full suspension 20-inch BMX mountain bike, and this was coming out right after Fingers Crossed BMX was doing the video series that they had with Ruben and Garrett, and they were talking about these bikes and bringing them to market. And the whole community of BMX rose up and said, hold on a minute. These guys didn't even get a chance to get their bikes out there, and We the People is about to release their own version of this bike. So at that time, We the People came out and they pulled back on the SwampMaster bike. And this was 2 years ago, as I was saying, because this is the drama resolved where We the People put out that they were going to be pulling back on this and not making that bike. So fast forward 2 years, we still don't have a Fingers Crossed BMX bike. I saw something about titanium frames or something along those lines. Saw a couple different people out there who are riding them, but there still isn't a readily available bike that anyone can go out and buy right now, 2 years later. And then I just saw this post on Instagram that was made 10 hours ago from We the People that says, since 2018, we have been working on a special project, and after a 2-year hiatus, we can announce that the SwampMaster will be available in 2023. And now there's mixed responses to this. There's people who are like, copycats, you guys are stealing the idea from Fingers Crossed BMX. And then there's people who are like, well, they gave them 2 years to get their bike out there before doing anything. So, I mean, how long should they wait? And that's quite frankly my perspective on this a little bit, but I do feel like it can be looked at from both sides, and this is something that is going on currently in the BMX world. So I thought I would talk about it and give my perspective on this. So, of course, people are going to look at this like, oh, they're stealing the Fingers Crossed idea. I can't remember exactly when Fingers Crossed came out in like the first part of it or when they first started working on these, but it says they've been working on this since 2018. So that's 5 years at this point. And then there's the aspect of the whole entire 2 years that they have waited. I mean, I guess you'd say waited for the Fingers Crossed guys to get their bikes out there. And when it comes down to it, the question is, how long should We the People have to wait? There's definitely some things that have come up in the past, like when this bike first came out and other different things of ideas and whatever you want to talk about. But this is one of those ones where I feel We the People made the correct response when they pulled back on this 2 years ago. But now 2 years later, still no Fingers Crossed bike in sight. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to wait 5 years and then come out with this bike when it's too late? Are they supposed to let this thing just go and lose out on people potentially getting on these bikes and potentially getting into BMX or continuing riding? I mean, that's the whole question here, is like, how long is We the People supposed to wait? I think 2 years is an adequate amount of time. I think there's been enough time that has gone by that if the Fingers Crossed guys were going to come out with their thing, then I don't want to say it should have happened by now, but I feel like it definitely could potentially have happened by now. And there's a lot of people who are on both sides of the fence, and this is stuff that I like to talk about in BMX because I like to look at both perspectives of things and then kind of just present those and then maybe make a judgment on it based on those two perspectives. There's always going to be people who say that We the People should have never done this, but it's a business thing when you look at it. And people who say copycats, I mean, that means that every single company who hasn't been around since the inception of a BMX bike is a copycat, because there's not that much new that comes out these days. There's not that much that is completely new that has never been made before, never been tried before. So essentially everyone's a copycat. When it comes to the BMX world, I mean, cassette hubs, pawls and springs and drivers, and then 3-piece cranks and 2-piece cranks and seats. Handlebars, two-piece handlebars. I mean, how does that make every single company that makes handlebars a copycat? I don't know. I wouldn't say so. And when it comes to the first inception of this thing, I think We the People was polite in giving, fingers crossed, plenty of time to come out with this thing when other people could have been working on this too. Other people could have come out with this too. And it's an unfortunate side of business where somebody who might have more resources can devote those resources to something like this and have it come out first. And in all reality, We the People never had to pull back on this SwampMaster bike 2 years ago when they did. They could have been selling them for 2 years and been at this point 2 years later and been like, well, I guess it's a good thing that we sold these because there's still no other bike. And the other aspect of this is that competition breeds innovation. So the fingers crossed bikes aren't completely new in their design too. Full suspension 20-inch bikes have existed before. I've seen comments saying that these have existed, or not that these have existed, but these have come out and people have made a full suspension 20-inch bike since like the 70s or 80s or something crazy like that. It was like really long time ago. And so I think having We the People come out with this bike, fingers crossed BMX and those guys coming out with their bike, it makes competition. It makes a choice. It makes it so fingers crossed guys can maybe have a fire lit under them to get their bikes out as soon as they can, and then people will have a decision between the SwampMaster and the fingers crossed bikes, and then that gives We the People and those fingers crossed guys an incentive to make their bikes better, to take it to the next level, and give people a reason to choose one over the other. It also adds to the market, so maybe a third player is going to come in and innovate past this, and then each of these two have to catch back up to stay competitive. And in the world of business and BMX, people don't often like to talk about the reality of things like this. And if this wasn't BMX and we were talking about cars or anything outside of the BMX world, it wouldn't even be a thought. If you talk about cell phones, I mean, you talk about how people say Apple's phones are years and years behind the Android phones as far as capabilities go, but then the people from Apple talk about how Apple just doesn't throw whatever they can out there immediately. They take those things and they put it out there in the Apple way, and they do it the Apple way. It exists everywhere, and I think because we're passionate about BMX and we really care about this stuff, and we really care about Garrett Burns, and we really care about Ruben Alcantara, we don't want to see things like this happen. But the reality of it is, and the question and theme of all of it is, like, how long should we, the people, have to wait? I don't think 2 years is a too short amount of time when it comes to this. And all I can really hope is that the fingers crossed guys still come out with their bikes, because there's still diehard people, clearly from these comments, who are going to support them. And then there's people that I've seen on the internet, like one of my buddies, who said, I want to get this bike as a trial run so that when the fingers crossed one comes out, then I can get that one. And then there's the aspect of, well, maybe they'll intermix parts between these, and We the People will sell parts that come from this bike, even though a lot of it is transferred over. But like, you could buy the fingers crossed bike and put the forks that come on the We the People bike on that, or use the hub that I think We the People recently came out with that has disc brakes on it on the fingers crossed bike, and all of the crossover that can happen in the competition that can breed the innovation that BMX needs to move forward. Because if We the People just said, all right, fingers crossed wins, they can just have this one, we'll not make the SwampMaster bike, and then fingers crossed takes 3 more years to come out with it, as an entire period of time where people could have been on these bikes, other companies could be innovating in there, and it just kind of holds everything back in this segment in a way that I think, I don't know, does it make sense? Once again, how long should We the People have to wait? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I'm trying to take a reasonable approach to this, look at both sides. try to stay in the middle as much as I can and give my thoughts in the process. So let me know yours in the comments down below. Subscribe here if you haven't yet, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for another video. Thanks for watching.